what I'm not going to talk about is what's going on in the world. Because I've heard hundreds of stories about what's going on in the world, and I've heard conflicting stories about almost everything that's going on in the world. So let's not even talk about that. What we're going to talk about this evening is more the collective consciousness, what's going on behind the scenes with the mind, the collective mind. Something has been happening in the collective mind maybe much longer than we are aware. And I would like to equate it to something that the meta health or meta medicine philosophy, how they see all sickness, because the world has actually been quite sick and is in the middle of a sickness. But the meta health people think that sickness goes through a stress phase, in our case for hundreds of years. We've been very stressed. Then there's a point of resolution where, again unconsciously, the collective mind has said, that's enough. There must be another way. Now, I don't know whether this happens in a moment or whether it's a thing that happened over many hundreds of years. I don't know. But we have been squeezed and squeezed and squeezed to the point where we've had enough as a collective. When resolution happens in your health, like if you're sitting on a deep trauma and you have a release of the trauma, the stress phase ends and you start what's called the healing phase, where most of the symptoms actually occur. And in the middle of the healing phase, which can be quite long, because the body, if you're talking about the body needs to clean out all the toxins that have been accumulated in the stress phase. And usually in the middle of the healing phase is called a healing crisis. And if it's talking about the body still, it's when you get a fever, when you get a heart attack, many other extreme symptoms. Unfortunately, the medical profession are not trained in this, but this is what the mental health people believe is going on when we are sick. How I see where we are now, we are in the healing crisis of the world. If you would like to follow my metaphor. There's a lot going on in the world and it's very intense and a lot of people are getting killed right now in the Middle East. So let's say we had this point of resolution maybe a century ago, I don't know. But gradually the collective mind has been changing and changing and changing as a group. And something happened in the 1960s where everything suddenly changed. And it was a law that was held in the Vatican where you were not allowed to study or teach spirituality. This law was repealed in the 60s. And this is a big change. Up to that point, witches were burnt at the stake. People were killed if they spoke anything to do with spirituality. So this was I think the resolution was before that, actually. This was kind of like a longer-term effect of our collective change. What also happened in the 60s was A Course in Miracles came through right after this shift in the Vatican. Because now spirituality is allowed. Alternative ways of thinking are more allowed than they were before. Rebirthing was also discovered in the 60s, and probably many other alternative therapies. I haven't studied when any others have been brought in, but I know about those. You've heard the expression, the darkest hour is just before the dawn. And I think we are in the darkest hour right now. the world will go through this intense crisis. I don't know how it will play out. And but we will pass this point. This too will pass. And I believe that we will have like an Aquarian age that we're going to come into once it'll take some years to clean up everything that's been instigated in the world. Every institution, every hospital, every doctor, every lawyer has been trained in this way. So it's going to take a long time to unwind what man has done to itself. But I am very trusting, and I've been listening to various channelers who are saying exactly this, that we are at the end of a spiritual cycle. And we will move into a very peaceful period, which could last for 1,000 years. I don't know, 500 years, whatever. But history does repeat itself. And according to A Course in Miracles, this is an ego world. This is a world where we came to experience separation. So we will want to keep doing that. But relative to what we've been experiencing for the last few hundred years, it's going to be very peaceful. Now, it's important to know there is huge resistance to this shift. All those who are in control, they have learnt through their childhood, through programming, to be the way they are, to be the controllers, to be the ruling elite. And that's become their sense of self. And don't take that away from me. We all want to keep on to our sense of self, almost to the death. So there's going to be huge resistance, and that's why we have wars going on right now. And we have to accept that that's happening and be peaceful about it. I see that our job, what is our role in this? Our role is to be the ones that can look behind the news, the ones that look behind the facade to see what's going on in the bigger picture of the mind. Only then can we be helpful. Can we hold the hands of those who might become very lost when what's coming is coming. I don't know how it's going to be in Denmark, but in some places in the world it's going to be very, very traumatic, as we can see already in the Middle East. So our job is to see it differently.